Hello, DOGAMers. I'm Kristofer Dayne. I'm co-founder and chief brand officer of DOGAMÍ. I'm very excited to welcome you in my Switzerland office. As you can see, I'm surrounded by creativity and inspiration. So I really love this space. I'm happy to share it with you today as we go into our first deep dive into DOGAMÍ Academy. So first of all, fantastic announcement last week. There was a lot of anticipation on our side to see how the community would react to the announcement of DOGAMÍ Academy. We're excited that we were able to share a little bit of in-production gameplay footage. So you have a little bit of in-game footage in the current state of production for the trainings, which we saw go by just before. Specifically, this is the velocity training that we're looking at right here. And we have a little bit of pre-visualization of the race itself in its pre-production state, in its production state. So let's deep dive directly into the one-pager, I suggest, and get a little bit more of an idea of how each one of these blocks function, how each one of the blocks have been constructed to give you a better idea of what's to come. So if you go on our landing page, slide down to the second block and you can discover more about DOGAMÍ Academy here. So first of all, we wanted to give you a little bit of an understanding of the backstory. I think it's very important to see DOGAMÍ as a project where your NFT is your passport or your key to an ecosystem of media experiences. Obviously, everything is going to start with an interactive game in which you're going to discover a lot of the world. But we do also have a comic book that's being released that you'll be able to access directly on our marketplace, on the DOGAMÍ marketplace with your NFT itself. Now, what I think you need to realize is there are going to be certain events in the comic books that happen that kind of lead to these academies being built around the globe. So although DOGAMÍs have been until now a little bit more of a myth, there's been this massive event that's happened on Earth, and the existence of DOGAMÍ are now an integral part of society. So DOGAMÍ are everywhere. Each dog that we have in the world around us is now awoken to his DOGAMÍ self. And these academies have been created by some of the heroes of the comic book as places that celebrate the awakening of the DOGAMÍ and allow them to hone into their skills and grow their skills to their maximum capacity so that they can unleash their positive power on the world. And so in these academies, you have the ability to train and to compete in a celebration for these DOGAMÍ. But there's kind of a hidden secret mission behind the creation of these academies, is that they're basically preparing protective geos. So you as a DOGAMÍ owner, as a DOGAMÍ companion more so, and the DOGAMÍs themselves, should the evil forces come again on Earth. So they're there not only to celebrate the DOGAMÍ, but also to prepare you for big events. Events could tie into the game. So small sneak peek here. So this is where the story begins. Now, the way we constructed this one-pager was to give you a real understanding of where a lot of your game loop is going to be. And in Unleash Your DOGAMÍ, we're talking about the mystical trainings and strategic management of the game. This is because a lot of DOGAMÍ's gameplay is done in your choices. The choices you make have a direct impact on the type of on the type of results that you're going to be getting in the racing. For the launch of the game, we have a training for each one of the 6 skills. And in those training, you're going to try and balance your DOGAMÍ strength as much as possible so that you know how to best tackle each one of the environments in the racing itself. Post-release, and this is something that we're scheduling for very close to the release, are the special trainings. Now, the special trainings are mini games in which you have full interaction with your DOGAMÍ. to give you a bonus on the skills themselves. So although we start off with something that's rather automated and that pushes you to make the right decisions in terms of the training you're choosing, we're then moving more and more into allowing you to have in-depth gameplay and skill-based gameplay. So the idea here is maximize your skills, make yourself more competitive within the races, but also making the right choices of equipment and consumables for your Dogami to have the right boost at the right time. This leads us into our races. Now, to avoid all doubt whatsoever, we have two styles of races. We have races which are time trials versus the environment, and we have PvP races. Now, these races are automated in very much of the style of Pocket Champs or test drives. You're in a management game where your reward and the result is in this very beautiful, high in visual effects and very dynamic camera moving races. Now, we're currently looking as to how we're going to upgrade these races and how we're going to integrate a little bit more gamification in these races themselves. But from the product that we're talking of at the moment, this is a management game, and this is your reward in terms of the game loop and trainings that you're going to put to excel your skills. Now, to be very clear, when we chose our game, and this was something that we discussed a lot with our advisors and our investors, is to take something that was battle-proven projects that have great success ratios, that attract a lot of audience members, and bring our 20% of innovation. And our innovation lies in different places. Number one, are NFTs and making sure that each character is unique. But what does that mean? That means that skills are breed specific. So depending on the Dogami you have, you're going to be more competitive on one environment versus another environment, or depending on the obstacles that you have, which has to give you more strategy in the trainings that you choose to increase the other skills where you'd be lacking a little bit. So that's innovation number one. Innovation number two is bringing gamification into the trainings themselves. And this basically is allowing you more freedom to play with your Dogami and to interact with your Dogami. There's also a notion of the upgrades that are possible on the consumables themselves, so the relics and the food, which will have to push you to make the right choices in making sure that you're creating the best foods and relics possible for your Dogami. And then there's a third innovation, one that we haven't talked about yet, and I'm just going to tease this, but we have an adventure mode. And the idea of the adventure mode is total freedom with your Dogami. How that plays into Dogami Academy, we're not going to say too much about it yet. We're still tweaking a few things, but I think it was very important. And one of the things that we have been mentioning from the beginning is that we want you to have fun, and we want you to be able to interact with your Dogami, but also we wanted some skill-based and tough competitions and have this management side to it as well. So it's about balancing all these elements together to make sure that you have a strong gameplay and you have this connection with your Dogami as well. For us, one of the things that we really wanted to push was the scope of the universe and world that we're building in Dogami. And for that, we needed to mix multiple locations. So in the MVP, we have the Academy, where we do most of our trainings. We have Atlantis, which is an area for your racing. And we have Paris as well. The reason why we chose these environments is, number one, the academies are heavily tied into the backstory itself. The Paris gives us that notion of urban and realistic environments like the ones that you see outside your door, so that you can connect with this environment as well. And Atlantis is pushing the scope to the other end and giving you a full mystical, fully immersed Dogami experience. These are the first three environments. There's going to be more to come, but there's going to be a lot to do in these already. Obviously, everything revolves around two things. We mentioned the Dogami NFT. The second thing is the Doga token. The Doga token is our ecosystem currency, which allows you to access everything, but also is where you get your rewards. So all the rewards will be in Doga tokens, and it's going to be tough. We wanted to bring a notion of challenge. It's not just click and earn. We really want our community and ourselves that if we figure on the leaderboard, people know, and it's profile oriented and it's oriented to the player and to the Dogami and increasing your reputation in the Dogami universe. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But also the rewards that you get in game in tokens will allow you to get very limited and special products, in real life products as well. Gaming for all, this is just a notion that obviously if we want mass adoption, if we want a large platform, a large family and a large community, we have to remove the gates of entry and allow for free-to-play gamers to come into the Dogami universe. So we have planned a free-to-play release. Right now, whether that's going to be in Q4 of 2023 or early Q1 2024 will heavily depend on our development, but it is there. It is functional on paper, and this will highly depend on the laws for third-party marketplaces and applications. But it is definitely planned within the next 10 months maximum. In terms of our production, when Dogami Academy very soon. We have our first prototype that's already running with the team itself, that we're testing, crashing all the time. We have a few play tests that are planned. We have a prototype going out to our advisors in the next 15 days to get the first round of solid feedback from external teams. And then we're going to apply these changes and make sure we have the most interesting and best Web3 gaming project on mobile in your hands in Q4 of 2023. So this brings our first deep dive to an end. I hope this gives a little bit more clarification on our direction with the game. If you would like me to make any changes in the way these deep dives are done, if I can be more clear, this is our first deep dive, but it was a pleasure to do this with you. So I hope to see you soon, and I hope to be able to share more sneak peeks and more news very, very quickly. Thank you to gamers.